Hey folks, welcome back to Failure Retirement. So when I was making my flatbeds for the little green GMC cabovers, one of my longtime viewers and commenters, a guy, I'm just going to call him Westside, he made a comment about wouldn't it be neat to have period correct loads to go on the flatbed. And I made pretty much period correct loads to go on the little GMCs, um, based on what Smith Miller would have had, which was like basically a lumber yard delivery. However, I knew what he was thinking. He was thinking lug boxes or fruit bins because he doesn't live too far from me. I don't know exactly where, but I know he lives close enough that we have a lot of common experiences. So it turned out that I had already made something like this, but I had just never shown it on YouTube before. So that's what we're doing today. So hang on. So, in the part of the country we're from, fresh fruit, and I'm just going to say peaches are one of the top things, but also pears, prunes, any other kind of fresh fruit like that. If you go far enough back before forklifts, those were all hauled in what we call lug boxes that were all moved by hand. And then with the advent of forklifts, we got fruit boxes, which are a real fruit box is 4 foot by 4 foot square, roughly 2 foot tall. And then we also got nut boxes for walnuts. I don't know if anybody hauled almonds in them. Probably, I'm sure people have. But for me, walnuts are the main thing that I see in the nut boxes. So I wanted to build some of these for years, going back to another truck, that I had way back in the 90s. Never could quite figure out how to get it done. So today we're going to talk about that. First, though, I'm going to take just a minute and talk about the truck. This is one of the first Smith Miller L Max that I ever got. I got it in a bundle of, I think, 3 trucks or four trucks. 2 other L Max and a Chevy. This one I'm sure was an Army truck based on the color. Kind of a no-brainer. Looks like original paint. But somebody had built this little flatbed for it. And it was bare wood when I got it. And I really thought that this was just really kind of a neat little flatbed. Simple, yet, really kind of perfect for the truck in many ways. So I made the headboard for it, and I went to Lowe's, got some color matched paint to paint around the edges, and then I stained the deck. And then the deck, you can see when it was glued together, the glue wouldn't take the stain. So I just took a Sharpie and just colored it in, because honestly, around here, a lot of old bobtails have hauled old tractors that leak oil. They all have oil spots on the deck, so I figured perfect. All right, so that's the story on the truck and the custom flatbed that's on it, and I never changed it because I still wanted some bins. So I originally made a set of fruit bins, and those have my name on some of the bins and a couple friends' names on the other bins in kind of a mixed stack way, and you can kind of rotate it around. And then I have a walnut company, which you guys have seen on here before if you go far enough back. So I decided right away after the fruit bins that I need to make some walnut bins to go on here. And I had kind of forgotten, but I put my father-in-law's name on some of these bins. So they're mixed with my walnut company and my father-in-law's name because he grew walnuts and he always shipped them in bins up until towards the very end. So that's what these are, is my best recreation of a nut bin. And what I did here, I started with 1/4 inch thick poplar, and I nailed it to a piece of pine, cut the pine to the width and length I wanted for a group of 6 boxes. Instead of trying to make all individual boxes, what I finally realized after 20 years of pondering it is it'd be easier to make them just in a block, right? A one-piece block that in both cases represent 6 bins. So even the fruit bins are in blocks of 6. I have 2 of them, so you can stack them 2 high. Fruit bins lots of times are hauled 2 high when they're loaded, and typically higher when they're empty. So yeah, I started with the pine base, and then I just glued and pin nailed this poplar, 1/4 inch poplar, onto the base. And then for the forklifts to get underneath them, these bins all have wooden skids on the bottom, and this was one of the tricky parts. That's a pretty fine detail. So how do you go about doing that? So what I did after it was, the 1/4 inch poplar was nailed on the side, you can see the seam here. So after it was nailed on the side, then I ran it across the table saw with the dado blade. And as you can see, the finish is not great because I don't have a quality dado blade. But that's the bottom side that you never really see. So yeah, I just figured out the spacing and set up my table saw and ran the dado blade across it and literally cut those blocks on the bottom. So that's how I accomplished that, making a local vintage period correct load for the truck. Really, like when this truck is based on the fuel tanks and the no bumper braces, this would be like a 50, 51, possibly 52 truck. Would have started out hauling lug boxes, and then probably later in life, these trucks would have hauled these big bins like this that are forklifted on and off. So I apologize, but I just covered up my father-in-law's name. And these are the nut bins. Fruit bins, exact same, but just half as high. And then what I did, since it's a one-piece block, I figured out, I was thinking about saw cutting a line in that to separate the bins, right? But then I kind of figured out that visually at this scale, I just took a black ballpoint pen and a ruler and made a line there. Visually at this scale, that's really, I think, about as good as it needs to be. You get the idea. So there's the nut bins, and there's the explanation of how I went about making them and the reasons why. Appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, drop a comment, and we'll see you next time on Failure at Retirement. Have a good day.